I want to read you a couple of Billy Connolly quotes about aging and growing old. And I apologise in advance for reading this in my voice, because I know you'll be able to hear Billy saying these things in his own imitable way, in that Glaswegian delivery. You mustn't act your age. Act some other bugger's age. You must stay alive. That's imperative. Don't do what a lot of people do. Surrender to old age and start wearing old guys' clothes. I think age is terribly overrated. You're okay as long as you don't grow up. By all means grow old, but don't mature. Remain childlike. Retain wonder, the ability to be flabbergasted by something. Both sound absolutely right, and both are bloody hard work to do in reality. Because staying curious, retaining that ability to be flabbergasted, takes genuine effort when you've already seen most of the stuff that's going on at least twice before. And refusing to surrender, that's easier said than done when your knees hurt and your hair is a distant memory and your opinions feel so hard-earned. It's easy to say, don't close down. Living it, well, that's a different thing entirely. Hi, and if you're new here, my name's Peter. Recently I've been thinking a lot about my dad. He'd be celebrating his 101st birthday this year, later this year, if he was still around. It's safe to say that that's old, isn't it? That is definitely old, 101. But he was always old to me, not just older, old. When I was in my teens, every Saturday, me and my dad used to get the bus into town. And I'd be in my Wrangler denim uniform of, jacket and jeans, long hair, Dunlop green flash pumps, because we didn't call them trainers then. He'd be in his dark brown three-piece suit, shirt, tie, polished shoes, trilby hat, and even an overcoat if it was pissing down, just to buy mince and a bag of Brazil nuts from St John's Market. And if we were lucky, we'd get to wander around the art shops that the Liverpool of the late 70s, early 80s had to offer. I was convinced we looked ridiculous together, but in actual fact, nobody else gave a shit. After the market, we'd traipse up this narrow set of stairs to a coffee shop, the only coffee shop in Liverpool that I was aware of at that time that did a decent cappuccino. I have my dad to thank for my love of good coffee. I love those Saturday trips. Even though he was always old. The suit wasn't the problem, though. That was just how he moved through the world. That was his authentic self. It was authentic as me in my Wrangler uniform. The problem, the thing that made him the way he was, that mattered, as I look back on it, was that he'd stopped thinking new thoughts. He was a painter and decorator by trade, but he was quite a decent fine artist as well, and he cared enough about art to open a small shop and gallery for a few years. He had ambitions, dreams even. But somewhere along the way, he just closed. The world moved on. It was the 1980s, and my dad may as well have been living in the 1950s. Mario Lanza, Kathleen Ferrier, and Bing Crosby were on the record player. John Wayne films on a Sunday, full English fry-ups every weekend. Same food, same films, same beliefs. And stubborn to the end, the habits that he couldn't shake, the cigarettes and the vodka, beat him. He died just having turned 61. I loved my dad, but I didn't revere him because I watched him close. And I've spent a lot of time wondering when exactly that happened. He wasn't born rigid. Something shut down. At some point, he stopped believing his own ambitions were worth pursuing. And at some point, he figured that acceptance of his lot was easier than fighting it, even if he did that begrudgingly. The gallery he dreamed of? Well, let's just say that it's very difficult to make a business successful if you're spending most of the day and most of the little profits it made in the Red Lion. I'm turning 61 next month. I'll just sit with that for a moment. So the question isn't how do I avoid becoming him? It's how do I know I'm not already doing it? Because here's the thing about intellectual rigidity. You never notice it happening to yourself. You see it in other people, but your beliefs always feel earned, considered and solid. It's everyone else who's closed-minded. My dad probably didn't think he'd stop thinking new thoughts. He probably thought he'd simply arrived at correct positions after decades of experience. So how do I know I'm any different? This is the difficult part because I do hold strong positions. Politics, culture, how the world is going wrong, and at whose tiny hands. And I'm aware that from the outside, strong positions and closed thinking can look identical. The only difference I can point to, is that I'm actively questioning my conclusions. My dad had no mechanism to do that, actually no incentive. I have this. These videos aren't just for fun. This is me figuring out stuff, still thinking, avoiding dying by still thinking. I've worked on what I'm going to say in these videos, and I work from bullet points that I've got on my iPad just to give me prompts so I'm not reading a script at you. There's quite a lot of work goes into producing these. I don't just talk off the top of my head. I start with a seed of an idea and develop it. I revise it, tweak it. I'm practicing pushing back on anything that sounds too certain. Anytime I think I've come up to a conclusion, I sit with it for a bit and challenge myself. That process is where I check whether I actually believe what I'm saying or whether I just like how it sounds. And I do this in public. So my conclusions can be challenged, even if it's only by me. So I can't just coast on, well, I've got decades of experience. I've earned my opinions. Because that's exactly what leads to the thing I'm trying to avoid. Billy Connolly also says retain wonder, the ability to be flabbergasted. I still have that, genuinely. Some people's ability and capacity for creativity still stops me cold. Art, film, writing, music. The fact that human beings can make these things that are astonishing never gets less astonishing to me. But on the flip side, so does the other thing. Some people's wanton capacity for destruction, for burning down whatever gets in their way, whatever gets in the way of their own interests, and doing it so bloody cheerfully and facing no consequences for it. Both still get me. I haven't made peace with either. Maybe that's what flabbergasted actually means. Not just wonder. Still being genuinely unsettled by the world. So Billy's right. You have to stay alive. That definitely helps. You have to retain wonder. You have to refuse to surrender. But it's not a decision you just make that one time. It's a practice. And it can fail quietly in ways you'd never notice. I don't think my dad noticed. But my dad didn't decide to close down. He just seemed to gradually stop fighting it. I might be doing the same thing. I can't rule it out. So I'm doing this. Because not doing it, letting my thoughts go unchallenged, letting my positions harden without examination. That's the thing that's unbearable. Not dying with fixed opinions, not wearing the three-piece suit to do the shopping, but dying having stopped thinking. That's the surrender I'm trying to avoid. Not because I've figured it out, because the alternative is worse. And maybe that's all "don't act your age" actually means. Not refusing to wear the suit, but refusing to stop thinking.